Yes, that's it. That's it.
So let
Yeah,
me
more
say
about
good
questions
morning
that
and
were asked.
welcome everybody. Hi, I'm going to give a little, there's the welcoming screen. This is the Saturday service. If you're here, you are welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Rabbi Brian. I am the host of the Saturday service, and I am joined by, and there are still people joining in, but I'm going to go to that screen so we can all. There we are. Hello, friends. Would you guys all wave so people see that you're here? And people are still getting admitted in, and I'm going to go back to this screen here. Well, good morning, my friends. It's good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. I am. This is. Most of you have been here. I don't see new faces, but I do see some names that without cameras on that I'm not sure I know. So let me welcome everyone who's here. There's a different way of looking at what a service is. I just brief historical. Hold on a second. I left organized religion, and organized religion does a lot of sage on a stage type services that you have. Very much like a medieval court or previous court where you have somebody elevated in the front and everyone else facing that person. And after I left congregational, regular rabbi congregational life, I was really influenced by 12-step meetings and by seeing that there is wisdom in the group as a whole. And I wanted to see what could we do. And I started running in Los Angeles a Friday night service once a month. I called it that Friday night religion thing. And I held it at a funeral home, which might seem like an odd choice, but they have an empty chapel on Friday nights because ain't nobody getting buried on Friday nights. And so we had a chapel and ran a service. And that's where I started with this idea of picking a theme. And I had a theme every month, and we would look at that theme. Now, here we are today, 2023, and we're meeting weekly. I have an idea of what we're going to talk about today, but I'm not exactly certain where it's going to go because this is live and you guys are here. And I ask you to have your microphone unmuted so that if you have something you want to say, you say it. Does that add a little bit of extra work for our friend Alex who runs our tech? Yes, it does. Thank you, Alex, in advance, because sometimes she has to run around trying to mute people. But thank you for participating. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to ask, first, let me start with an apology. Last week, I did not broadcast this properly. I was on my laptop and I had not done a setting properly so that the recording and the Facebook and the YouTube had no audio to them, which means anything that was said last week, it's only how you remember it. There's no archive of it. This is hopefully getting recorded. I was going to say one other thing, and I know you will all forgive me. I lost my little train of thought. I was going to apologize for last week. I also wanted to say two things that happened last week that I thought were just fantastic. One is our friend Gord here.
I haven't seen him yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, there was this wonderful moment with Gord where I just said to Gord, "Hey, Gord, how you doing? You all right?" And I caught myself in doing this very human thing of saying to someone, "You're all right?" As though that's the only answer. What's he going to say? No? And it was if it was in a court of law, I think we could say leading the witness. I was pushing him towards giving a certain answer. I thought that was wonderful. And the other thing that I really loved last week was John gave an introduction, and then we had some talk about that. And I thought that went really, really well. So, John, if you want to give us your introductory remarks today, we are ready for you.
The most recent revision, and there have been a number, of my words of welcome. If you believe in following the way and teaching of Jesus, if you know what you believe and are confident of it, If you have little or no idea of what you believe, you are welcome here. If you have a clear image and concept of God, if you struggle with the concept of God, if you see yourself as being on a faith quest or journey, you are welcome here. If you've never been here before, if you attend regularly, if you're looking for a place to sort things out, you're welcome here. If you are a religious person, if you identify yourself as spiritual but not religious, you're welcome here. If you find the music or prayer or a sermon or silent reflection to be the most important part of worship, you are welcome here. If you are seeking community that is inclusive of all people and their individual identities, you are welcome here. All are welcome here to participate in acts of worship and share in a community which cares for and about others unconditionally.
Thank you, John. Thank you for wordsmithing and keep improving the words you wrote. There's a quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he said the three most important spiritual words are "You are welcome." And to really think about that in this universe, you are welcome. We think about a welcome mat and it's banal. It's trite. It's something we literally walk over.
Walk on.
We walk on. And that it's this beautiful idea that we are welcome. And Wayne Dyer has this great little almost throwaway exercise to do, which is, how can you remember that you are welcome? And really taking that in for a moment. You are welcome, not just to this service, but you're welcome. Like, would you like a cookie? You're welcome to them. Like you're in. Please enjoy. These cookies were made for you. That's a great spiritual idea. And Wayne Dyer's little nugget of how do we get this message into our head more? Well, you can game the system. How? You can get people to say you are welcome all the time to remind you. And how? How are you going to get people to, how are you going to manufacture it to get other people to say to you, you are welcome? You know the answer to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Isn't that wonderful? The more you... Give me a second. If we had a really good production team, that would be edited out of the recording, but we don't. This is real.
We have a good production team.
We have a grand production team. We just have more important things to do than edit me coughing out. Let me go back to it. If you want to hear more people say to you, you are welcome, you are going to do what?
Thank you.
You're going to say thank you. And I'll give you a thing that my grandmother taught me. My grandmother taught me, she heard it on the radio, on WOR radio. I can't remember. It was in New York. And she heard a thing that said, you shouldn't say thanks, because thanks is just one word. And you should say more than thank you. You should use all three words to say, I thank you, so that it's a human-to-human connection. And I bet the more you practice saying, I thank you, the more you'll get in return the three words. And if they just say welcome, okay, that's fine. The better chances are you're going to get you are welcome. Okay, good. Well, we learned something already today. I say we call it a day. We done?
Oh,
Brian,
wait, hold on a moment. Yes? Who
Can I
was?
say a little bit about, it's John.
Oh, there you are. Hi, John. Go ahead.
Can I say a little bit about why I wrote this?
John, I would
Why I
love you to
created the
say
words
why did you write this, John?
I go back to a time I was a school teacher and the terrible job we did with the students who wanted to leave. And I think we've done the same thing with respect to our religious groups. If somebody chooses to go away for whatever reason, they would never have a reason to say thank you as they walk out the door.
Mm,
And therefore we're unable to say you are welcome. Instead, we dump shame on them
yeah.
for leaving the path as they go and see
How
ways
they
might
want to
work
go.
for
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
And because we never had the chance to say you're welcome, then what I'm striving to do here is find a way to say to any one of those people or anybody at all who comes through the door of a building or signs into this or whatever it
Yeah.
is, you're welcome. And I want to make it clear to them that whatever their rationale was for coming here is perfect and fine. And I want you to feel as welcome as you can possibly feel, in spite of what somebody or the organization might have left the impression in your mind when you walked out the door that you could never come back again, or
Right.
that
We
you're
wouldn't.
inevitably going down the wrong path.
I thank you. And John, the other reason that I asked you to do the welcoming was because you had only been here 2 weeks. I think that was 5 weeks ago. And you said, I would like to give a welcoming. And I thought, wow, okay. There's somebody new who wants to take the reins like that. That's fantastic. Anne, I see you have your hand up. What's going on, my friend?
I really like the general statements. I find them inclusive,
Yeah.
but I personally had a problem with the fact that it started with if you're a believer of Jesus,
Yeah.
because that kind of skewed the whole thing for me. And I know that there is a thing where people, the first thing that they read and the last thing that they hear is what sticks in their head.
Yeah.
And that to me made me feel, if I were new, I would have thought I've just walked into a Christian organization.
Yeah. And that was some of what we had the discussion on last week is as soon as you start saying this group and that group, then who are the people who you've left out? What are the groups, the marginalized communities that are left out? And I had the same reaction, Anne. I had the same feeling was, oh, you only mentioned there Jesus now, didn't you?
Yeah.
And no, and again, John, I hope you're not taking any. Your job is an impossible one.
Yeah.
It's impossible to write a welcoming that's going to please everyone. And if we brought it to committee, that committee would never be done writing a welcoming. So let me just sum it up by saying, I'm glad that you're here. And if you think that I'm talking to someone besides you, you're wrong. I'm talking to you, to each and every one, and say, you're welcome here. I'm glad that you're here. You are part of what's making this the thing that it is today. Okay.
Can I do a quick response to Anne?
Go right ahead.
She talked about believing in Jesus. Nowhere does it say that. It says,
Yes, John.
you believe in following the way and the teaching.
Yeah.
Yes,
doesn't
but
say you believe in Jesus as such, but rather if that
John,
model works for
I agree with
as
you.
As somebody who's not Christian, that doesn't even register for me. I don't know the difference because I am not Christian. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But what I hear is Jesus.
Yeah.
Is the first thing that I hear, and that makes me feel that this is a Christian organization.
This is a problem, right? We don't know how our words are getting heard. And for those of you who are not Jewish, when you are brought up culturally Jewish, just hearing the word Jesus even in the way that you put it, John, which was perfectly done, it reads differently. It's heard differently. So again, let me, Jack, you have something you're burning to say? Go for it.
Yeah, as far as people leaving, just say thank you for being here.
Of course.
So there's no shame involved.
Oh, let's talk about shame. That's what we're going to talk about some today.
That's one thing. The second thing is change Jesus to God.
You can't. Okay, wait, stop. We're not going to wordsmith. We're not going to try to make this welcoming the perfect welcoming, because we can't.
Of course not.
We can't. If you use the word God, then my hardcore atheist friends are going to be having the same. We're going to trigger people. It's just this is how it is.
I forgot about them.
Okay. So last week I recorded and there was no sound, and I had this thought afterwards, and let me bring up my handy dandy writing screen. There it is. All right. There are two things, and our friend Steve helped to bring this to light last week, that there are things that we do that are mistakes, and mistakes lead us. We did something and we found out that what we did was not as we thought it should go, right? And let's remind ourselves for a moment. Hey, gang, what's it feel like when you make a mistake? And the answer to that is
Embarrassment.
That's great.
what?
Nothing. Embarrassment.
It depends.
Oh, wait. This is fantastic. Okay, so let me go back. Let me go over this. I saw a TED Talk by a woman named Catherine Schultz, and she talked about this, and she asked a group of people, like I just did, what does it feel like when you make a mistake? And most of them said, like I heard you say, it's embarrassing. You feel small. You feel like regret. And then some of you know what she teaches is that's actually, you have just proven what it feels like to make a mistake is you answered the wrong question. You answered the question of what does it feel like to realize you made a mistake?
No.
What does it feel like to realize you make a mistake? Is it feels bad, it feels small, it feels shameful, it feels icky, it feels regret. But when you make the mistake, it feels like
Nothing.
Feels like nothing. Last week, when I broadcasted and I didn't hit the proper audio channels, do you know what I thought I was doing? I thought I was doing it perfectly. When my students, when I taught math, dropped out of regular rabbi, taught math for 7 years, then this thing happened. But while I was teaching math to the kids, I would look at it and be like, why'd you drop the negative sign in the fourth line of the equation? Well, why'd they drop the negative sign?
They made a mistake.
They didn't realize they dropped the negative sign. If they knew they dropped the negative, I'm really going to upset Mr. Rabbi and I'm going to drop a negative sign. No, nobody's thinking that. You just make a mistake. So what does it feel like when you realize you made a mistake? Is it feels off. And you can feel guilt from making a mistake. What I found in the last week was that the mistake that I make, if it impacts no one except for me, who cares? But the mistake that I make when I realize, oh my God, there are this many people who wanted to watch this service in rerun, and now they can't. Well, that's not true. They can watch it. They just can't hear it. When I realized that other people were involved, then I felt guilt. Then I felt something more so than it was just me. Guilt, and then sometimes this leads to shame. And I want us, if you get nothing else out of today, I want you to see two different things. This is what Steve talked about last week. Guilt is I did wrong. And shame is I am wrong. We're going to do, I wrote this down. Let's practice receiving mistakes gracefully to reinforce our capability to distinguish between guilt and shame. I'm going to say that again because this is what we're going to do today for a little while. Let's practice receiving mistakes gracefully. Oh, I made a mistake. Let's practice receiving when we make a mistake gracefully to reinforce in ourselves our capability to distinguish between guilt and shame. When we do something wrong, we should not think that that means there is something wrong with us. We should just be able to look at it and say, I did something and it wasn't as I had intended it to be. So to do so, we are going to play a game, remembering, of course, what somebody once said to me, Rabbi, when you say we're going to play a game, they're never really that much fun. Here's how this is going to work.
Unless you throw it back at them.
It's possible.
Like you do with your Kleenex.
Yeah, Thank you. Yes, Rob. Hold on. Wait. Deep. Rob, you were there Tuesday when I practiced doing this. And I'm not going to have you. You learned too much the last time, or you were too smart for my game. So hold on. Get this.
I don't remember a thing. You know that.
I do know that. And you won the game by using your middle finger instead of your pinky and your thumb.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now you have a slight recollection of what happened.
I remember that.
Yeah. Okay.
I love giving you the finger.
You gave me two of the fingers, actually, Rob.
Well, that's the only two I have.
Okay. So Rob has graduated himself out of the game that we're about to play.
Congratulations, Rob.
Oh, thank you, Al, for volunteering. Can I get? I would like to have 3 other volunteers besides Al. Al, are you all right volunteering to be spotlit on the screen for a moment? Alex,
Sure.
would you spotlight Al, and who else would be willing to volunteer themselves to play along today? Oh, come on, somebody, please volunteer. Help a rabbi out. Jack, please. Candace and Eileen. Okay, here's how this is going to work. Can you spotlight? You're spotlighting each of them, Alex?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
Which Eileen or not? Sorry, which Candace are we doing?
Whichever Candace is jumping around, moving like they want in on the game.
There's a hint.
We got Candace. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to add me to that box too. Okay, so now there are 5 of us on the screen. I'm going to do a quick transition to there. This should work. There we go. There are the 5 of us. Hi, gang. Thank you for volunteering. You guys are going to see how many of the following sequence you can do, and we lose points as soon as one of you mess up. And the reason we're doing this is because it's the same reason that when I made a mistake, if it affects no one else, I don't feel guilt. And let me tell you what you are really trying to do during this. What you're really trying to do is to notice when any thought of, I'm an idiot, I'm a fool, whenever the shame starts to bring itself into your head at all, I want you to notice that. That's really what this game is about. That's really what I want you to do. And anyone
Mine
else who's
started
watching,
already.
I'm sorry, Jack, I didn't hear.
Mine started already.
Okay.
Yeah.
None of you are doing anything wrong. Okay, trust me, I'm a rabbi. Oh, soon I'm going to be able to say, trust me, I'm a doctor. If you don't know, I'm getting an honorary PhD in May, so that's a whole nother thing. So I want you to pay attention to at what point does the voice or do the voices come up and say, I'm doing something wrong. There's something wrong with me. I stink. I can't do this. So here we go. Gang, thank you for participating. Please take your hands in so we can see your hands in front of you and have them face you. Hands are facing you and make fists. Can you make fists, Candace? Okay. I want you to take one thumb, push it out, and the opposite pinky, push it out.
Oh, that one.
So on one hand, there's a thumb going out, and one hand, there's a pinky going out. There we go. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go first, and then I'm going to ask you guys to do it. And you're going to go as slow as you need to. I'm going to switch to the other hand. Okay, that was really good. We'll do it again. And let's go for one more turn. Can you get it? Okay, very good. Can I get everyone to do like some hands and some applause? And Alex, we're going to unspotlight these 4 people. I don't know how to. Oh, remove all spotlights. There we go. Then that means this screen, I have to go back to that quickly. Can we give some hands to the people who just did that? Give them some love. Thank you guys for volunteering. I would love to hear from you. And if we would please, my wonderful tech engineer, Alex, I'm just going to spotlight you. Go ahead. Alex has been practicing this.
Yes, good girl. Good for you.
Okay. Wait a moment. Are we extra proud of Alex who has practiced this, or are we extra proud of Candace who has never done this before in her life?
Proud of
Equal.
Equal. Okay, let's keep it equal.
Yes,
Everyone
both.
gets a prize.
Yeah.
Just more entertained by Alex.
My participants who did this, and I don't know how well. Look, there's something really nice about every service reading Psalm 119. Is you know how it goes, and you don't have to try something new. I don't know if my experiment is going to exactly hit where I wanted it to hit. But if I could hear from any one of the 4 people who tried it, did you notice that shame came up of, oh my God, I can't do this. I suck. I stink. Any of the 4 of you have? Did I make it too welcoming of an environment?
Maybe so. I was going to say not yet.
Well, looks like I made a mistake there. All right, that's fair. Candace, you have something to add?
Well, not really. It's just that I was concentrating on doing it, so there wasn't really room for any other thoughts.
Okay. Can somebody who was not one of our 4 participants imagine themselves there, beating themselves, kicking themselves? I can't do this. There must be something wrong with me.
Yes.
I appreciate the honesty. Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead, Connie. Do you want to say something else?
Well, when you're put on the spot like that, and all these people are watching you, if you make a mistake, it makes you feel really low.
Yeah. And thank you, Connie. I'm working at cross purposes here. One of my strengths, something that I have built up over the years, is my ability to help people from feeling shame. Because if you're going to ask people to learn how to derive the quadratic equation, you have to be patient and make them feel like it's okay to make mistakes. So my innate desire to make people feel okay, it's okay to make mistakes, and my desire in this exercise to make you feel like you felt shame for making mistakes seem to have canceled each other out a little bit. I think I can still get to where it is that I wanted to go, which is, let's watch this. Let's watch, when does it shouldn't be from guilt. When does it go from I made a mistake to there's something wrong with me? Where does that happen? Why does that happen? And I got a question. Inner critic. We all have an inner critic. We all have an inner critic that tells us that we're not doing something right, that we should be doing something different. I want you on a scale of 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 0 is sociopath and you feel you have no inner critic at all, you never think you're doing anything wrong. 1 is your inner critic is really is not that loud, and 10 is your inner critic is really loud. I want you to do, and I apologize, math content ahead. I want you to think about in the last week, just in the last week, and over your lifetime, the numbers might be different, but in the last week, what is the range of your inner critic been? So I'm not just asking you how loud is your inner critic, but is your inner critic going from a 9 to a 4, which would be a range of 5? How far does your inner critic go? So I want you to think about how critical is your inner critic on a scale of 1 to 10, and then subtract from that how quiet your inner critic is on a scale of 1 to 10. And I'm just curious, what is the range of your inner critic? Your inner critic range goes, how many people's range is above a 4? How many people's inner critic is really loud sometimes and not really loud sometimes?
Yeah.
How many people's inner critic is really steady, is somewhere that the difference is only a 1 or a 2? How many people, their inner critic is usually, I can trust that inner critic, they're going to get me the same way every time. All right, a fair number.
I'm thinking there are other factors. Like I tend to make excuses for myself. Finger work is not my forte.
Wait a minute. Betsy, finger work is not your forte. You teach piano.
Well, I mean, that form of
finger games without the piano is not a forte.
Piano.
Right. Now, obviously, Alex can do this really well. Why? Because like you playing the piano, Betsy, she practiced it.
Mm-hmm. And there's an and to that, which is that when you first introduced that and I couldn't do it, I felt so dumb that I had to master it, because I'm going, why can't I do this simple thing? Right. And so sort of the interesting point of this was that my own embarrassment,
right,
and incapable of doing what I thought was, well, that's baby games. I should be able to master this. And it took me quite a while to practice this to get there.
And that's one of the
how hard it actually was.
One of the very few benefits of shame is it can keep us in social line, and it can get us to not want to feel that again, so that we learn.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is not the best method for learning. I'd say it might work some of the time, but there are far more productive methods for teaching and for encouraging growth and learning than shame. The only people don't learn in shame. People learn to best the people who are shaming them. If that's on the inside, that's them. But there's something combative about getting out of shame. I saw a hand up a second ago, and I didn't get to you, and I apologize, and I don't know whose hand that was. Okay. The 1 to 10, I lost my piece of paper. Here it is. Inner critic. We learn from our mistakes. Oh, also, No, I'm going to leave that. Al, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious. Shame is really easy, right? Like, it's really easy to fall into shame. We're all acculturated to do it. Why not just let it go wild?
Ah, good thing you asked, Al. I have a great quote.
Just happened to him.
Well, I had
Hey, we didn't set that up beforehand either, I have to say.
Shame can only exist. This is deep, so we're going to take it slowly. Shame can only exist when we are seriously unsupported by our environment, or when the environment is exerting excessive control over us, so we are unable to act in accordance with our needs or our sense of self. Oh my God, that's a lot of words. Let's take that slowly. Oh, great opportunity. If you just heard all those words and you thought, I don't understand it, I'm an idiot. That's shame at work. Shame can only exist. So let's take the first part before the or. Shame can only exist when we are seriously unsupported by our environment. Let's put a period there. Shame can only exist when we are unsupported by our environment. Yeah?
Yeah.
Our environment is not welcoming of certain aspects
Correct,
of
correct. When our environment is not welcoming of us as we are, that's when shame comes in. Oh, ding dang it. I lost the slide. There it is.
Well, what about when you have shame because you have done something that is contrary to your own moral core?
That might be in the second half. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Might not be. I want to start with the first half. When shame only exists when we're seriously unsupported by our environment. Now, by our environment, Ray, that might include ourselves, that we're not supportive of ourselves.
Okay.
When we're seriously unsupported by our environment. If we are supported by our environment, cross-reference the beginning of this whole service when we talked about feeling welcomed. If you feel welcomed, are you going to feel shame?
You could.
You could, but we're
harder.
It's
a habit.
It is the more welcome we feel as we are, the less shame we're going to feel because we're going to feel supported. The more supported we feel, the less shame we feel. The less supported we feel, the more shame we feel. We're up to the right. That's the first half of this sentence. Shame can only exist when we're unsupported by our environment. Okay, now, or the environment is exerting excessive control of us, so we're unable to act in accordance with our own needs or our own sense of self. When we're unsupported by our environment, or the environment is exerting excessive control over us. I think I'm all right there. After that, and this part reminds me of somebody says something bad to you, and then you feel unsupported, and you start to feel shame, and then you hire a policeman to keep you in that jail of shame. That's the second paragraph, I believe. Let's take a look at it. After that, every time we experience that same need to feel welcome, to feel a part of, it's like there's a link with shame that has been created, so we automatically experience it. I got shamed in a certain situation. The environment wasn't supportive. And then every time again, I bring that to myself. I don't need... Brene Brown talks about shame as being a vicarious feeling. That it's one that we don't need the other people to be shaming us. We hold the shame ourselves at that point. We think there's something broken with us. I got an idea for a cure. Radical self-love. Oops. Crazy amounts of self-love and welcoming ourselves as we are. Hey, gang. I have a question. Anyone object for the next week of treating yourself as though you are welcome as you are?
Ooh, what an idea. Wow.
It is a hard idea. Our society, by nature of it being our society, tells us to conform, to fit in, to do what everyone else is doing the way that everyone else is doing it. That's what we learned in kindergarten.
Right.
I think of one of Mr. Rogers' songs. I like you, like you, like you are.
I like you, like you, like you are.
As you are.
As you are. Yeah. Can we internalize that love? I mean, it's easy to be separate from a TV personality who's saying the same thing to everyone, but can we take it in still? Can you really accept the love that's out there, that's inside you? It's a challenge. It's a good challenge. Bob, and then Michael?
Yeah, I'm just puzzling as to, is there any benefit to shame?
Yeah, it keeps our society trudging along. It keeps people in line. It tells us what the rules are.
But I mean, is there any benefit to me about shame?
I don't know. Don't know. Hold on, Jack. Hold on. Yeah, Michael. And I love to hear from anyone who hasn't spoken. If you want to, please, we'd love to hear new voices too. Michael, and then Ray.
I mean, I talk too much.
No.
Theoretically, see, there's some shame there. Theoretically, I can love myself, but we all can. But there's no switch to flick. It's going to take work, a lot of work, a lot of deconditioning.
I want to come back to that after Ray. Thank you, Michael. Yes, it's going to take work. It's not binary. It's not a simple switch, but I do actually have a 5-sequence switch of what we can do to make it happen. Go ahead, Ray.
Well, for me, it's a great deal about the inner critic.
Right.
What we have been taught and what we have been told by parents, teachers, other members of society, maybe people we work with, that what we're doing and how we're looking at things is wrong.
Yeah.
So when we try to be our true selves, then we feel like we're wrong. And that causes shame.
Last week, if you were here, and if you weren't, I'm sorry to bring up something you weren't here for. Last week, our friend Sabrina was here. Sabrina's hit a lot of shame, but Sabrina loves herself enough, or has gotten over those internalized messages to be able to be herself. It's really inspiring. Ron. Yes, sir.
I just want to say that from my personal experience, the stricter and more religious, not spiritual, but more religious, the background, I think the more often, for me at least, the more often I respond with shame automatically.
Explain a little bit. So the more somebody tells you what you have to do, the more you feel shame, or the more you shame them? Or am I missing it altogether?
The more I feel shame. I am the one phrase my father repeated daily to me when I was a young teenager was, "You lazy good for nothing." And it drove me to be a workaholic, to prove that I wasn't lazy. And when I take a break, I can feel guilt about and shame about taking a break.
So to go back to, thank you, Ron, to go back to Michael's thing about the binary, is we're not going to be able to eradicate shame and guilt instantly. It's going to take at least 2 days. Learning, let's do our announcements, and then we're going to go and dive into learning with our remaining time. Is Maria here with our announcements?
I am.
There you are. Hi, Maria.
First, I just want to apologize. Facebook apparently has kicked me out or is blocking some of the posts in our community page. So I may miss a few that. So, G2, Grant, Kim and Joe, James, Abbas, Philip, David, Carla, Pat, John, Donna, Bill, James Wilson, Norma, Jim Hansen, Craig and Chrissy Lavielle, Jim Brooks, Wendy, Hugh Cook, Jeff, Arena Batsara, Lakiri Bot Egulansi, Nora Bot Miriam, Nishama Bot Miriam, Kat, the Cook family. If there is another person in our community we can offer light and love to, please put their name in the chat and I will add them to the list in the clubhouse. And for the people who aren't named, but who are in our thoughts, we send them light and love as well.
Thank you, Maria. Let's take a minute of silence right now. Well, thank you for the minute of silence. Boy, I had in my head exactly what I knew I was going to do with this next 15 minutes or 10 minutes that we have. And then in the silence, I thought, no, I'm going to change that. What I was going to do, I might move to next week. And it's to answer Michael's question. And there's 5 stages to learning. And if we want to learn anything, knowing the stages that we learn, it's for learning anything, would help us to learn. But I thought before we did that, before I tell you here are the 5 steps to learning, I want to go back over, there's one antidote to shame. I think you know what it is. It's love.
Self-love. Love.
It's love. And it's self-love, which we can get to by being loved by other people. I sometimes tease someone that I'm loving on. I said, if I can love on you, it proves you are lovable. And you don't need me to love on you. I've proven to you that you are worthy of love. And I guess that's what I want to get to here, is it's what we're all, I know. Okay, little rabbi on a soapbox here. Or rabbi on a little soapbox here. Say it that way. There's nothing about you that's broken that makes you unworthy of love. We unfortunately are brought up, not unfortunately, it's this bizarre confluence of life, I don't know, whatever, circumstance, But as children, and this is from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talks about this. You might remember her from On Death and Dying and the Stages of Acceptance. And she said something radical, and brace yourself for it, because she uses a really harsh, strong word here. And she says, as children, we learned that love was conditional. The strong word she uses is, she says, children prostitute themselves. Second definition of prostituting. Children prostitute themselves to gain love.
Yeah.
That as children, we know, and I knew this, and I did it with my kids. Like, what else am I going to do? The kid mimics the sounds that I just made, and I applaud and I get excited, and my children learned the more that they made sounds that sounded like the sounds that I was making, when they said it, they would see Dad be excited and they would get extra love. Oh, you're walking. Yay! Love is not supposed to be conditional. Word pun here, but we are conditioned to see it that way. So we're fighting against something that's deeply ingrained in us, that we have to be performing to be worthy of love. And I'm going to tell you today, at this moment, there's nothing you need to be doing right this moment to be worthy of love. And when we make mistakes, we're still worthy of love. It's going to take us a while to unlearn that, isn't it? Okay. I think I have time to go over the 5 stages of learning. But before I do that, I want to check in, because that was hi, people.
Oh.
Hello.
Hi. How are we doing? Where are we at? Because just because I have time to teach the next thing does not mean that that's the thing that I should be doing. So,
Brian.
Yes.
John. Is it fair to take the quote that you put up there and reword it? Shame is conditional or situational.
Yeah. Shame is
if we're
conditional.
on our own or with a really tiny group, there's one level of shame. If we're do something in front of a large group and make a mistake, the level, the depth, everything is completely different.
Isn't it right? Which is why we talk about this in the group that helps plan the service on Wednesdays, and I talk about it in the group that meets on Tuesdays. It's a smaller group. And it's not broadcast on the fucking web. It's hard. If you make a mistake here, apparently I seem to be immune to it, but I have a really high threshold for making mistakes. I think that didn't make sense, but you know what I meant.
No.
My slippage from mistake to shame is seemingly lower than the average bear.
Good.
That goes back to your okay statement.
Yeah. I realized I was at a conference once, and I was on the staff of a conference, and they asked at the end, what did us as the staff, what did each of us learn while we were there? And I had this bing thought, which was, and I shared it with the group, I said, I've realized that I learn the most when I make mistakes, and ironically, I try my hardest to keep from learning. Once I freed myself to say, you know what, I'm probably not going to break anything. And if I do, I'll deal with that then. But once I allowed myself to be mistakeful, boy, did things get easier. So, can we all try saying the following? Oops.
Oops.
Oops. Oh, look at that. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Oops. And if we could get saying oops one more time this week before it goes from I realized I made a mistake and it spirals into shame. Before we get to that where it goes, oh, I realized I made a mistake, I'm an idiot. Oh, I realized I'm a mistake, bad me. I realized I made a mistake. I want you to enter in and say what instead?
Oops.
Oops.
I love me.
Yeah. I mean, not
do it
when
that
you
way
drop
again.
not when you drop a plate of food in somebody's lap, right? Like
It's a commercial.
But let's see if we can't get a few more oopsies in. Not intentional oopsies, but intentionally oopsies. Dang it, language gets really confusing, don't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops. How about, oh, that didn't work?
Yeah, or, well, that didn't work. Can y'all hear Bob's voice in your head? Well, that didn't work. Okay, it's matter of fact. No shame.
I won't do it that way again.
I won't do it that way again. Oh, I want to hear, let me hear some other ways you can interpret oops.
There I go again.
There I go again. Still not perfect.
Yeah, working on it.
Didn't work.
Didn't work?
What did I learn
Fuck
from
it.
that?
Fuck it.
I did it again.
Let me make a few quick little announcements because I always have a few announcements sitting here on the side. First, this one, always. It is okay not to be okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay. Our friend James has moved prisons. He is now at the Pelican Bay Supermax in northwestern California. We do not have a suite number for his mail, but Alex, if you could put his address up in the chat, if you have it. He's asking, please, because when he moved, he's only allowed to take 3 boxes of things with him, and he could choose if you would send to him. He's allowed, I think you're allowed to send him 5 envelopes at a time. Alex, do you remember the number of that?
I think 5, yeah.
Yeah, so if you could send him, if everyone would send him, we'll do a giant pyramid scheme. Everyone send him 5 envelopes and 5 stamps. That would stock him back up. And also, our friend Azera.
What was that?
I don't know. Oops. And also, let me leave that one. Hey, this part's always awkward, but these things help. If you have the wherewithal to make a donation to Religion Outside the Box, it helps me to keep this ministry going. This is donation supported, and you are the backbone of making that thing happen. So if you don't make a regular contribution to Religion Outside the Box, to please remember to that does help. Okay, gang, we are coming up on 9 o'clock hour. Golly, this is just lovely to see all of you. I'm so glad that you're here. I think we're doing something nice.
Sure are.
Sure are. Let me go to gallery view so I can see everyone's lovely faces one more time before we sign off today. There's everybody's faces. Hi, faces. Hey, all of you, let's remember 2 things. 1, you are welcome. which means you are loved, which means you don't need to take that trip from mistake to shame. It's all right. We all make mistakes. That's fine. Next week, we'll pick up with how the 5 stages of getting out of learning something, including how to get out of shame or how to do pinky thumb. How to learn anything is next week. I'm going to turn the hosting controls over to Alex. If you haven't stayed around in the past, you're welcome to. We do an hour or so small groups discussions, which are not broadcast. Let me turn off the recording. Bye. Wave to all the people who are on the web. Goodbye, recorded people.